Hello, and welcome back to HOA It's a True Story. I'm your host, Reagan Brown. And today we're meeting with Jeremy Talboy, CEO of North Georgia Landscape Management Company. We're basically speaking today about landscaping and springtime, all the things that affects, including how it affects the pools. So, welcome. I'm glad you could join us, Jeremy. I appreciate you being here.
No, absolutely. Thanks for the invitation. I appreciate it.
Also joining me today is Bill Mann, the general manager at Paradise Pools, a new title there.
Thank
And
you,
he's
Ray.
from the Northern California area. And Brad Bacon, community manager with the Manor and Associates from Sacramento. And of course, I'm in the Bay Area, so we're all over the place, but glad everybody could be here. The beauty of digital content now. Okay, so we always start off, Jeremy, with you telling us a little bit about yourself, how you got into doing what you do in our industry.
Yeah, sure. I actually, it's kind of a different story. I started off, I went to college to be a history teacher and a baseball coach. Baseball is my passion. I played a lot of baseball through college and even after college. And that was always my direction. But my last semester of college, I started watching some entrepreneurial shows, The Profit or Bar Rescue or Shark Tank, and I got bit by the bug, and I wanted to start my own company and take a shot at creating something that I could pour my heart and soul into. And since I didn't have any real world experience in anything other than baseball, it became a question of what can I learn the fastest? What industry can I get into and learn the quickest? And I just took a shot at landscape, and I was figuring, how hard could it be to cut grass? But, um, I never even really had, yeah, I know, right? I never even really had any experience cutting grass. I mean, I may have cut my own grass at the house a couple times because I was always playing baseball. So we had somebody to cut our grass, but anyway, I figured that would be the easiest to learn, just grab a mower and go out there and cut grass. And boy, was I wrong. It takes a lot of expertise, a lot of technicality, business acumen, all stuff that I did not have. And I basically just went door to door and learned everything the hard way. I threw myself out there. I took the risk on myself. I believed in myself, and I had a fallback plan. I could always go back and be a teacher and coach. So it was a risk, but it really wasn't. And I was very blessed. I met a lot of people along the way. I got really lucky a lot. And here we are about, I guess 16 years later, and we do almost $9 million a year. I have a
The
team.
the true American dream.
That's right. That's right. I got a team of close to 100 people right now, and we do we do a split right now of about 50% commercial maintenance, HOAs and multifamily, and then all the capital projects and enhancements that go along with that. And then we also do residential design bids. So that's where the pools come in.
Mm.
I have in-house landscape and pool designers, along with install crews, and we design super amazing backyards here in Metro Atlanta, and they're built those for residential clients. But we don't do any residential maintenance. So all the maintenance is all HOAs, multifamily cities. So just purely commercial on it.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay, so that includes all of the services that you guys offer in your area.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Well, one of the things we kind of want to focus on today is on the rehabilitation or reconstruction projects that might affect an HOA. So, what are the common projects that you work on that you get requests for and that you see a need for?
Yeah. So when it comes to the HOA, so again, there's two sectors here. You got the multifamily, the apartments and condos, and the HOA. So on the HOA side, typically what we deal with are the capital projects. For instance, a large townhouse community has a playground, but they don't have any kids in it. So they have this dilapidated playground area, and they want to do something else with it. They want to turn it into pickleball courts or a gazebo or a meeting area with the picnic tables and stuff like that, because the kids have all moved out and gone away. So That is a common one. And then the other one is full upgrades to the entrances and the amenities. There's a lot of older neighborhoods in Metro Atlanta, 25, 30 years old. That's kind of a sweet spot where it's time to start rehabbing and giving the place new plants. In addition to that, monument signs. We do a lot of monument signs, lighting, and brickwork and stonework. And with the amount of growth, population growth in Metro Atlanta, they're constantly widening roads. So there's a lot of opportunity to come in where the Department of Transportation will literally annex or take over a portion of an entrance and expand the road, and then we'll have to come back in and build a whole new monument sign, stonework, brickwork, all the plantings and lighting and stuff like that. So we do a lot of that.
Hmm, interesting. Who funds that? Does the city fund that when they widen the roads, or the HOA have to pay for it?
Yeah, so the city will give them a big chunk of change. I usually have to provide a design and a quote, and
Mhm.
then they will go get that from the city. And then typically the HOAs will still have a capital reserve that they want to increase. So it usually goes beyond that budget, but yeah, it is funded by the DOT or the state management community that is taking that advantage.
So if we're kind of going into our spring, right? We're almost at the the due date here for spring to show up. Um, what do you find that you should recommend or that you are recommending to the HOAs? You mentioned like kind of the rip everything out and
Sure.
get it going. Is that kind of a springtime thing is that a anytime thing?
Yeah, rip and replace is what we call it, where we pull out all the 30-year-old bushes and we upgrade, we give it a facelift, right? That is something that everybody starts coming out when the weather turns and birds start chirping. Everybody kind of gets bit by that spring fever, and we get a lot of calls for that. But one of the biggest things right now that everybody's focused on is irrigation. Everybody has irrigation around here now. We're not subject to monocles and drought like in Southern California. You can get about 52 inches a year in inch of leaves. So it's very easy to grow plants and grass around here. However, we do a lot of seasonal color. So every spring and every fall, and then we rotate the beds with the seasonal color, and that requires a lot of irrigation. So right now, everybody's kind of focused on bringing us in to do the spring tune-ups and to optimize their systems, make sure there's nothing leaking, if there's no issues from the winter time, after we winterized it, make sure the backflows are working correctly. So that's the big push right now, is everybody wants to get the irrigation up and running, so spring flowers in the next couple of weeks will thrive.
With
Now,
all the Go ahead,
with
Bill.
that much rain, I'm assuming you guys have lots of nice green turf.
Yeah, absolutely. And now we
Which
do
we're
have,
slowly getting rid of here. But
yeah.
do you guys dethatch there? Do you aerate,
Yeah.
fertilize? What's the story?
Yeah,
I'm assuming
yeah.
you do that in the
So,
spring.
I don't know what kind of restaurants got over there, but we have Bermuda. We are primarily a Bermuda market. We also have zoysias, both of which go dormant in the off season. And then, so when we're cutting it, we don't cut it often during the off season. But that creates a lot of thatch. You get this, dormant clippings that kind of just sit there and they don't break down very fast in the wintertime because the climate is not conducive for decomposition. And then in the summertime, when it is growing rapidly, we do have a lot of thatch building up. So a lot of our HOAs in big common spaces, they'll have to dethatch once a year, maybe every 2 years. And we work on that. And then obviously you got your pre-emergence and your weed control and the fertilization and all that stuff is starting in too. So getting
How do
everything kind
you
of primed and ready for the spring.
how do you dethatch? What
Yeah.
is
So it's actually an attachment that we use. We can use it on a tractor. You can even put it behind a golf cart, and it's just kind of spikes, and it scrapes all the thatch. The thatch is the organic buildup that sits right above the soil underneath the blades of grass, and it will choke out the grass. So it's just organic material, but essentially it's
Oh,
clippings
that's
or
interesting.
yeah, or leaves that have been mulched up. and it just kind of sits there. It takes a really long time to decompose. So if you don't manage it, it will actually choke out the nest. So,
Yeah, they do that in Palm Springs every year, Reagan. Go down during the dethatching part of the the season.
Yeah,
It's
I'm
not so
like,
great.
but, yeah, and
I
then
hadn't heard of that.
yeah, and then after you dethatch it, you go ahead and aerate it, punch holes in it, and get those roots, get oxygen down to the roots, and get those things spreading, and throw some dirt down and watch it dry. After that, I need after that is some sun and some water. So
Well,
it's on up here.
you mentioned the getting ready around the pool area of a HOA, whether it's a single family homes, condos, or apartment. I'm sure that's one of the things everybody wants to see look spruced up at the springtime. So what is typically the the situation around the pools? How do you get
Yes.
that ready?
Yeah, so the pool's it's kind of a unique thing. Property managers understand pool season, it can be super hectic. Everything's kind of on fire for that 2 or 3 months, and everybody needs it yesterday. But our job is to just make it beautiful. So imagine coming out of the winter time and dormancy, and maybe you have rose bushes or hydrangeas that are pruning heavily, directly pruning down to the ground. We might have some weeds in the beds because all of our pool areas are locked up for the winter, right? And for safety reasons, the pools are shut down, they're covered up. Um, there's a lot of properties that we don't even have access into the pool area for the winter time. Some of it is a fob or whatever, but most of the time they're chained up for security reasons. So
Hmm.
it kind of gets neglected a little bit. There might be leaf buildup in some corners. The decking might be a little bit stained, from leaf accumulation and moisture. So they come in and clean everything up, they line the leads out, maybe apply fresh mulch, pine straw, trim everything up real good, get all the leaves out, and pressure wash all the decking, the concrete spaces, and just make it look beautiful for when it opens up and everybody, that spring rush, when everybody comes running in there, you want your pool equipment working, you want the water clean, and then obviously you want all the surrounding areas to be as beautiful as possible too.
Now,
In
on the
Nevada,
irrigation,
oh, go
oh,
ahead,
sorry, go ahead.
Brad. No,
Okay,
go ahead.
so on the irrigation moment, right? I mean, you probably have some planter boxes, you probably have some standalone kind of embellishments, right? Whether they
Yeah.
have a palm tree in them or whether they have, a dwarf tree in those. What are some considerations about like soil turnover in those types of isolated, like raised planter beds or like standalone planters,
Yeah.
with irrigation tied to that? How do you guys address those?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I didn't mention that, but that's a great point. Most every um, pool amenity area here in Atlanta has potters. So we obviously need to get those prepared for spring flowers. Um, so we got to rip out all the old struggling fall flowers that are just getting beat down by the sun. We got to put in new soil amendments, new topsoil, till everything up, and then get it ready for the drilling, the filler, and the spiller that we're going to put in April. Yeah, and then we have and then we have the irrigation that goes to the potters, which is the black tube with the spaghetti string. Make sure that main line that it's coming from is all tuned up from the off season to make sure that it's flooding correctly. So that's one of the hardest things is making sure that potters get that irrigation. That's a tricky little system. You got to make sure that
Mhm.
you're hiring somebody that knows what they're doing and that they need a really good team. So, but yeah, that's the process with that. And pretty much every pool area has potters and individual beds. So that's part of getting spruced up and ready for all people.
One of the things I spoke at a reserve study conference down in Las Vegas a year ago, and they had some people in on landscaping. So I was kind of surprised when the landscaper said that the irrigation systems, the valves, controllers, heads had about a 10-year life. Is that your
Sure.
experience as well?
Absolutely, absolutely. In my line of work, we call irrigation the gift that keeps on giving. Um, so once it starts breaking, now assuming that it's been taken care of, right? Assuming that you're
Right.
winterizing it fully and correctly every off season on time, and then spring tune-ups that are just as important. But assuming that you're doing all that, 10 years is probably about the max. But once it starts breaking, it is just a uphill battle. Again, we're talking different piece on data because once it has a weak spot and cracks, and then you fix it, and it's been leaking for a little while. Once you fix that spot, it's just going to find the next weak spot, and it's just going to keep cracking. So about 10 years is a good number. And we actually recommend our clients just go ahead and start replacing the good thing. Unless you want, to spend a couple $1,000s or whatever it is every single month, to fix it, put Band-Aids in, it's probably wiser just to go ahead and turn on your system.
So do you work with the HOAs to help them understand their budgets for the reserve study so that they can plan for these rehab type projects?
Yeah, absolutely. We do. And I have a unique situation in my company. Both of my growth team, which is business development, they're all ex-property managers. So that was just kind of a strategy to give myself a competitive advantage in the marketplace, because not only do they sell our services to property managers, they also have a little bit of management, a little bit of their hand on management. So that's where they really come in and guide through that process because they've been in that seat. I have an HOA manager that's been in the business for 15 years on the HOA management side, and now he's with us selling. And then I have a multifamily manager that is now selling. So we can guide through that whole process, and it's really been great for us. Like I said, it's a huge competitive advantage.
Brad, you got a new career if you're ready to go into landscaping.
Come to the dark side.
No, honestly, I never thought about landscaping, but honestly, that is one of the biggest complaints we get as either a property manager for an apartment, on-site manager, or an HOA manager, or a general manager, right? Because they're all kind of similar, but just different disciplines. So, do you
That
typically do like a tune-up, like you were saying earlier, prepping everything? Do you do like a tune-up package? Like, hey, it's coming up, January. We're going to start turning on the water. We're going to declog some of the heads. We're going to look at areas that maybe we didn't get to last year that might, need to be upgraded. Is that what your team typically does?
Yeah, so all of our contracts have built. Now, we're not the cheapest guys in town, obviously. You get what you pay for, you pay for what you get. But all of our contracts include irrigation packages, which means you're going to have your spring tune-up, which is our team's going to come through, they're going to turn on everything, they're going to run through the whole system, they're going to optimize everything. So they're not only looking for leaks and damage, but they're also going to optimize everything, which means they're going to adjust all the heads. They're going to set the timers accordingly for the season. So in the spring, we're getting ramped up, but it's not quite like the summer. We don't need quite as much time on every zone. We're going to make sure that all the heads are covering the right areas. We don't want them, spraying up against a house or a building or out into the parking lots or anything like that. So that's all part of the spring tune-up. And then again, we're going to go through and we're going to find any problems, and we're going to send that to the HOA board and seek approval to get those fixed. In addition, every month during the growing season, our team's going to go out and do the same thing. We're going to run through the whole thing. We're going to turn it on 1 minute per zone, and we're going to optimize everything because heads can malfunction without anything happening. Typically maybe a mower will run over it, but that doesn't have to happen. It'll just start spraying wonky with no catalyst. Nothing happens. So it's important to have a company that will take care of it, has your best interest. But for us, obviously, it's a business move, right? We get revenue out of it. So, but anyway, throughout the growing season, we're going to go ahead and optimize everything and adjust and make sure that the watering requirements are keeping up with the season. So in the summertime, we're going to add more times in each zone, make sure that everything is good. Getting a ton of rain. Even in the summertime, we might have to dial everything back. So it's a month-to-month thing, and then obviously we're going to go through and run through the entire system, winterize everything, and that flows, blow out water lines and all that stuff. So that's something that we do that's already included. A lot of companies use that as an add-on. You just go ahead and pack it in there because we want to take care of our clients. We want to be the stewards of their property. And it does add to the contract, but again, I think it's very beneficial for both parties.
Jeremy, since you guys do have a lot of rain, it sounds like it's all year long. Are you going to more systems where they automatically adjust, where they have sensors and things, so you're
Yeah.
not out having to adjust time clocks?
Yeah, absolutely. So every system that we install all comes with rain sensors, right? So it's never going to run in the rain. Um, if we take over an HOA that doesn't have rain sensors, our irrigation team is going to immediately suggest it to them, and they're fairly cheap. You're going to get your money back in the first year, most likely. So it's very low risk. We sell a lot of them. However, most of the properties around here already have them for that, just like you said, because there is a lot of rain. And then there's also, there's technology out there, Weathermatic being one of them, that is fully, I wouldn't say automated, but it's very advanced technologically. Everything is on your phone. You can adjust things, and it will do a lot of that stuff for you. So, yeah, being in this climate is super good.
We're
So when
kind of
you're
in the opposite scenario, having more drought, but this year then we suddenly got a ton of rain.
Yeah.
So we're not really in a drought situation anymore, but they are mandating that what's it called, Bill? The non-usable,
Non-functional turf.
yes,
non-functional turf. And so they're
yes.
requiring that we go to, the fake AstroTurf type
Sure.
stuff in some of these areas. Do you guys have anything like that that you're getting mandates in Georgia?
No, we're not mandated to do it one way or the other. I will say, artificial turf is depending on the municipality around here. It's on the install side. So again, I build backyards, custom high-end backyards for residential clients, pools and stuff like that. So a lot of these pools are going to artificial turf around, so that we don't get clippings and stuff in the pool. We don't have to worry about it. But the point is that depending on the municipality, some of them consider it permeable and some of them consider it impervious.
Oh,
So that's where it comes down to us when we're designing. Like, we might put 2,000 square feet of artificial turf in there, and then the county comes back and says, you're over on the impervious because of this, or so on and so forth. So that's really the only regulation that I've seen as of late when it comes to that. But I will tell you, Atlanta is moving to, there's a lot of people doing that. It's more a higher cost up front, a lot less.
Maintenance.
On the maintenance side, it stays green all year round. You don't have to worry about the products have really evolved. They're not nearly as hot as they used to be. They're all pet resistant. They don't fade like they used to. So the products have really evolved. And then the price points are getting better. I'm lucky because 2 hours ago, an hour away is Dalton, which is the perfect capital of the world, which is where they make tons of this stuff. So we can get it at a lot cheaper price, and I think that helps, the Atlanta market with how much it's really taking over. But to answer your question, I don't know of any variations or otherwise.
We're also getting hit with the having to go to electric mowers and electric blowers and all that. Do you guys have that situation?
Yep. So inside the city of Atlanta, inside the city limits, you have to use ordinances. You can't have, if it's like before 9 o'clock, whatever the place would be. But there's a lot of little localities, smaller municipalities inside of Atlanta that have all started voting the noise pollution. And that's what they're really worried about. That's their biggest concern is reducing the noise. I've looked into a lot of it. It's tough for me, and I've met a lot of people. I've spoken to a lot of people. You guys are familiar with Justin White, the landscaping. I think he's been on the show. He has just moved into a new market where they are requiring that, and he's using a product called Press, all electric mowers. So I've learned a lot about it. But my challenge is On the HOA side, we do a lot of townhouse communities, so there's lots of gates, lots of little fences, lots of dogs, stuff like that. I can't count on this machine to go through the gates, close the gate, make sure the dog doesn't get out, stuff like that. So that's my biggest challenge. I am super interested in it. I've run the numbers on it. The numbers make sense. You know, reducing the labor by X amount, initial investment, so on and so forth. For me, it's tough to get through these gates, and that's the challenge. But I know they're working on that because I'm not the only one. But again, to answer your question, yes, inside the city of Atlanta, they are super concerned about the noise. And there's a couple companies around here that need all electric equipment. Electric push mowers, not automated robotic mowers, um, but electric hand tools and stuff like that to really reduce the noise. And I'm not gonna lie, it's giving them a competitive advantage inside that market. So something that's on our radar, and we're gonna think about it for the next 6 months or so and figure out how to implement it.
I don't think California went to that because of noise. I think they
Emissions,
went to it emissions, and they just want everything electric, and then they don't have the electrical power to manage the grid.
yeah, right, all right,
Well, I mean, speaking on that, Reagan, I mean, the electrical power is getting sucked up by AI data stations. So, they're telling us to turn off our AC when it's blazing hot. And then, someone else is over here madly going, Chat GPT, let's create this image, right?
yeah,
Or like me, I'm working on a board packet frantically trying to get this done. And then my AC turns off because, it's a save the air day or whatever. So
yeah.
it's really a problem for California as far as resources, limited scarcity, and etc. But it doesn't sound like that's really hit Georgia too much, which is a bonus. Um, are you guys finding more of a transition from when you take over an association? Just going back to that comment you made, when you're taking over a homeowners association, do you offer like a landscape audit or irrigation audit to then provide them the difference between, hey, you're using all these sprinkler heads and they're spraying and praying the water is going to get to the plants, and 40%, let's say, of that volume of water is just turning into aerosol. Do you guys provide that as a free option, or is that like a value added kind of proposition when you take over an HOA? How does that reconcile with their budget? Because HOAs are poor. Sorry.
Yeah, but most of the time they're calling us because they're not happy with the people. They have these issues, and this is usually disclosed in the weeks, months before they actually win the contract. We do a full audit, a full rundown on the entire system on day one as soon as we take over, because included in our contract are these monthly inspections and optimization. So if your system is fully dilapidated, it has tons of problems, our monthly inspections are going to take forever, and it's just going to be big bill after big bill after big bill. We're not really going to do anything. So it is required for them to go ahead and we have to know what we're looking at before we start moving it. So yeah, but again, a lot of this is disclosed to us ahead of time. They will literally say, hey, um, we've had 3 companies in the last 3 years, nobody can figure this out. But better yet, or more often, is we haven't used our irrigation system in 10 years, and we want to start because we have capital reserves, and we want to spend some money. We want to make this place look good. We're gonna, like I said earlier, rip and replace everything. We like you to give us a design, but in order to do that, we want to know what we're looking at with irrigation, because we have to invest in all these plants and all this code without that. So yeah, it is literally day one. And I tell people when I sell to HOA clients, um, that is a big push, but that is very attractive for them, because a lot of times the previous company doesn't have a good irrigation. So that's it. That,
When
that gives us an advantage.
do you handle all the permits and permissions and that sort of
Yeah,
thing for accounts?
yeah, absolutely. Like I said, we're gonna walk you through. We are the professional, we are the students of your cash and money. So we're gonna help you spend it as wisely as possible, and give you the best advice and counsel, and walk you through it so that you get the most bang for your buck. With your capital investments. So in addition to that, obviously, we understand the HOAs to be fully involved in it to even activate it. So that's part of our responsibility to build our plans.
Do you ever get included in large property-wide rehabilitation where you have a construction management company doing the oversight and then you're actually a sub to them?
Yeah, we do a lot of that. But however, that is all on the multifamily side, where
Ah,
the multifamily side, it's like a house flipping game. Now you have these capital investors that come in and they buy the asset, and they get to do their roofs and have the kitchens and have the landscape. So on that side, they'll have the GC that comes in and all these different projects and do it with them. I've not been a part of that on the HOA side. Um,
mm,
it's just not something that has come past the desk.
okay. Well, anything else you guys want to ask before I wrap this up? All right, very good. Well, the name of the podcast is HOA It's a True Story, and we always ask our guests to share a story. It doesn't have to be anything specific we've discussed, but
Sure.
just sometimes we like a funny story that may have happened to you in your years of business.
Yeah, okay. Not so many of them. Let me see. I got one.
This is my favorite part. I love
Yeah,
this.
okay. So back to what we were talking about earlier about monument signs and widening the road. True story. Okay. Company calls us in, or HOA calls us in, and they say, hey, the state's going to take our entrance and we have to move our monument sign, tear it down, move it back 35 feet because they're going to add 2 more lanes to the turn. Cool, no problem. So we put it together and it was 300 and something $1,000 for the whole game. Demo the existing sign, the existing columns, fence, move everything back, throw the new monument sign, lights, all that stuff that we discussed earlier. So we come in and we do it, and it's a 6-month project. And within 2 months, I think it was a drunk driver, some sort of driver, plowed right through the monument sign with like an F-350, and it was just
Oh.
reduced to rubble. The monument sign itself was like 75 grand. 2 sides,
Uh,
nice signage, lights, bricks, stack stone, all that. A nice Japanese maple in the front. Straight demolished it, and we had to rebuild it. So I don't know if it was as funny for them as it is for us, but again, the gift
well,
that keeps
their
on giving.
insurance probably covered it, I'm sure.
Yeah, it did. And unfortunately for them, it was insurance, obviously. So that was an dramatic process. So we built them this big, so they have a monument sign. It gets reduced to a construction site for a year while they're redoing the road. And then they have a nice, beautiful monument sign for, I think it was 2 or 3 months. And then it's reduced to rubble again for like 6 months while they're going through litigation, arbitration, whatever it is, that whole process. So again, we got to do it twice. So, revenue wise,
It worked out
financially,
for you.
yeah, it was great
It
for us.
worked out.
But for them, it was
Well,
not so fun.
do you have a website, Jeremy, if somebody wanted to get a hold of you and
Yeah,
talk to you a little bit more about their property and their project? What is
yeah.
your website?
Yeah, it is northgeorgialandscape.com. Very simple. All spelled out, northgeorgialandscape.com. And our tagline is, we are your one-stop shop for all things landscape in Metro Atlanta, and we will be delighted.